Okay, the head now, we started off, okay, you see what I did here? I put this axis in, which shows the degree of turn, how far he's turned 3/4. In profile, the axis would be right on the silhouette, you see. So this is the center axis of the head, this is the brow line, and now, having divided the head, we can start to look at some of the shadow forms. Don't forget that picture in the high school yearbook of the Glee Club, and it's just one rectangle with 30 people in it, and there are 6 rectangles on each page of that high school yearbook. And you can still pick out the person in the back row of the Glee Club even though their head is no bigger than your little toenail, just because of the shadow shapes themselves. And then, if you think how insignificant it is about the color of the eye or the shape of the ear, it's the arrangement of those big planes, because those shadow shapes are what give us, what reveal the structure and arrangement of the cranium, facial mask, and jaw. So that's what I look for in indicating the head. It's very rare that I can't tell from one of the quick sketches who that model was. So we're not just drawing generic heads either. You should be able to do that if you're called upon, but here we're drawing Paul's head, not a generic head. So study it. Okay, the back of the cheekbone is here, and then the angle of the ear. The ear is important because the pivot point for the head is located directly behind the ear on the mastoid process of the occipital bone. So that's where all the turning or cocking or bending of the head in relation to the neck occurs. So if you misplace the ear, it's going to cause confusion in the drawing. It's real important in the entertainment advertising business because it's typical to be given a reference of, say, Mel Gibson's head, but then you have to attach it to a figure pose that you may have Polaroided or made up. And so attaching heads to figures is a common problem in commercial art, animation, or illustration, regardless. There's the tendon of the mastoid muscle and its cast shadow. Here's a cast shadow over the neck. And remember, I'm urging you guys to be careful and attentive of shadows. Here, the arm in front of his torso, and here, the foreshortened arm. Don't let that throw you. Just first flatten it out into two-dimensional shapes. Forget about the overlaps for a moment. If you start thinking at this stage, you're dead. Just draw the shape. I start with the geometry of the pose, then once that's established within it, I develop the construction of the parts. And then once that's done, I stage the pose. In other words, light the pose according to whatever lighting prevails in the room. Okay, here's the forearm overlapping the upper arm. And the biceps behind it. And then the hand, the arc of the knuckles is like so. The thumb held apart. And now we can pick up the turning of the first and second phalanges of each finger. Each finger has 3 phalanges, each one known individually as a phalanx. So that's the anatomical term for the parts of the finger. Now his other arm follows that action line that I first drew, and then we can go into the inside of the arm and pick up the biceps and find here the width at the wrist. Okay, beneath this arm, we have the knee, and its angle is not really quite vertical, but less than vertical. We have a cast shadow, and it's got to curve. If it's straight, then it will appear to have a flat pectoral muscle, and he does not. So curve that shadow. And then here, find how the pectoral muscle overlaps the rib cage. And then here, pick up the entire action line of his torso and find where the rib cage turns under at the waist. And then you've got the external oblique muscle. And here we can turn from the side of the torso to the front, and we can cast a shadow over the torso. And here, even though it's in the shadow, look for the separation of upper and lower abdomen, and we pick up the gluteus muscle, and then here from it we pick up the shape of the entire leg. Again, don't worry about anything more than just the abstract shape. Now we can pick up this leg overlapping his torso, and here's the crotch, the adductor muscles, and at this point we want to find where the knee falls, and we can find the width at the knee joint, and then we can pick up the outside of the calf here and shape as it sweeps down to his foot, and then the side plane of the knee joint where it changes from light to shadow, the crest of the tibia, and a cast shadow from his hand. I map out the shadows before I actually fill in the tones. The real work is in mapping out the positions, not in filling in the tones. You may have trouble filling in flat tone now, but in a few weeks you won't have difficulty. You'll still be left with the mental work of mapping out every pose you draw. Okay, so we've got the width above the ankle, and now I have to draw just the inside of the leg to it, and correct this and narrow it again above the ankle. For the foot, forget about the ankles for a moment and just draw straight through. And now we find the inside and outside ankles, and we add the tarsal bones and the ball of the big toe, separation among the toes, and that's what we've got. His other leg, here at the knee, here at the ankle, and then the high point of the calf, and then the width above the ankle, and now, Armando, can you lean your head to the left? Thanks. You don't have to do much, just don't lean it to the right. You can actually straighten up. It's just for a moment you have the head right in the middle. Okay, now we add the staging, which is the lighting on the leg, and that looks like this. Finally, the angle of the foot as it rests on the model stand, here,